Hello, everybody! BeMetalways here. Welcome to another weekly heavy metal album review. This week I'm talking about Threshold Dividing Lines, released by Nuclear Blast Records on November 18th, 2022. Now, Threshold are an English progressive metal band formed in Surrey in the late 80s. After adding vocalist Damian Wilson to the group, the band's debut album Wounded Land was released in 1993. Vocalist Andrew McDormand joined to record 1998's Clone and would remain with the band until 2007. Threshold left their longtime label Inside Out Music to join Nuclear Blast Records, releasing Dead Reckoning, probably my favorite album from them. This was 2007. Mac left the band and original singer Damian Wilson returned as Threshold's frontman. And Glyn Morgan, the band's former vocalist from 94 to 96, and their singer on the band's second album, Psychedelicatessen, replaced Damian Wilson for the concept album Legends of the Shires, released in September 2017. This was a good album, but quite long and not easy to digest. It anyways received widespread acclaim and record sales for the band. So let's see what the follow-up to Legends of the Shires has to offer, Dividing Lines, their 12th studio album. Threshold brings 10 tracks in 65 minutes. As in previous records, they have a good mix of shorter 4 to 6 minutes long songs and some 10-ish minute epics. Darker, heavier, and even more adventurous than its predecessor, Dividing Lines is a more traditional group of songs and not a concept album. Haunted opens it, and from the get-go, you can not only hear Threshold's trademark prog metal sound, but also a clear callback to the Andrew McDormand era. What do I mean by that? Well, prominent heavy guitar riffs surrounded by tasteful keyboards intertwined with softer parts with clean or acoustic guitars. Very melodic vocal lines often sang with a bit of overdrive. All of that generates dynamic songs with tempo and mood changes. For example, Let It Burn starts moody but soon picks up with an engaging groove that turns into some heavy verses and a super catchy chorus. Silenced was released as a single. It's indeed one of the shortest songs on the album and pretty straightforward prog rock tune. Great choice for a single. The other single, Complex, returns us fully to old school and makes me think of 2007's Dead Reckoning, while the other single, King of Nothing, is a bit more radio-friendly, and Lost Along the Way starts as an 80s song, reminding me a lot of the 80s era of Rush. It's a slower tempo and more emotional track, and it works for me. And I also want to talk about Run, which follows and maintains that same kind of 80s Rush flavor. The Domino Effect with 11 minutes is the longest song on the album. The mellow keyboard intro gives way to some heavy riffs. It's almost like Symphony X kind of heavy. The verses are quite mid-tempo, which works well in contrast with a heavier but catchy chorus. I especially like the 70s prog rock like bridge leading to a very melodic guitar solo. Some Deep Purple style keys help make this metal meets 70s prog rock association. And then the 10-minute plus closer Defense Condition sounds like a leftover track from the latest Damian Wilson albums, which for the record is a compliment. It features diverse passages and a great guitar work. Now, if I'm being picky here, it's actually difficult for me to complain about this one. Maybe could be a bit shorter, less short songs, and focus on longer and more adventurous epics. I don't know. Personally, those work better for me, those long epics. But again, I'm just searching for something to be peak about because it is a very good album. So, Threshold keeps getting better with time and also takes the opportunity of the recent changes of singers to evolve their sound while bring back elements from the earlier albums. With Dividing Lines, they fused their second album singing style with the darker and heavier sound from the late Mac era, but the band kept to the adventurous side from the recent albums. Musically, there's the heaviness of heavy metal acts such as Symphony X and Dream Theater combined with 80s Rush and 70s prog rock and Deep Purple. I just found this melting pot extremely interesting and satisfying. Musically, the band is very talented but never overdoing it. All in all, to me, one of the top prog metal albums of 2022. A very good album, 83 out of 100. Go check it out. Thanks for being here, for listening, and BeMetalways.